Hello and welcome. I'm Martin Groschwald, CEO of Konzepthaus. What you're about to see and hear is one of 12 panel talks from our Mobility Design Conference 2025 at the Munich Motor Show, where we brought together leading voices from design, technology, and mobility to explore the future of our industry. In this session, you'll hear fresh perspectives and valuable insights straight from our stage. Let's dive in.
So, getting toward the end of the day, is everybody still awake? Okay, good. So we are joking, this is the party people here, so we hope we can keep you entertained. It's not vodka, we promise, it's just water, but maybe in a couple hours in the designers' party, we change. So, welcome back to CMF. I'm Laura Burstein, or Laura Burstein in German. I'm learning to say my own name, a design journalist, and I have a great panel here today. So our topic for this afternoon is a new role for CMF within design, and we will cover kind of a lot of things that we hinted at or explored a little bit earlier in the day. And this is the whole idea of CMF is being elevated, right? Like hopefully CMF is being more involved in management earlier in the process. CMF is oftentimes now reporting directly to the head of design. And so we are just in this discussion about this transition, about some challenges, about some opportunities, and where we see the future going. So I would like to introduce our panelists. So we have first Bozhena Lalova, who's with us in the middle. She is the director of color and trim at Avatar, but she was also before at Genesis and Mercedes. And then we have Nisha Pillai, who is a senior color and materials designer at Audi and also former Tata. And then last but not least, we have Laetitia Lopez, who's a freelance color and material and finish design, freelance color, material, and finish designer, but also former GM in Cadillac, so having that experience as well. So welcome. We are the ladies panel. So it's good. So beyond your titles, I'd like to hear from each of you a little bit about your journey in CMF and your roles and sort of maybe some notable projects that you worked on and also how you've sort of seen this evolution. So Laetitia. Oh, sorry, yeah, please.
Is this working? Perfect. So I am Laetitia Lopez. I have over 12 years of experience in the CMF design world. I worked across Europe and United States. I had the chance to work for global companies and brands such as Faurecia, which you may know as Forvia now, Opel and Cadillac, where those companies saw me progress from a creative designer to head of CMF design with Cadillac. And my most significant project is certainly the Cadillac Celestic, where I had the privilege to lead and manage the team, worked on the CMF vision, the strategy, but also the design service, from the design vision to the launch of the vehicle.
Bozhena.
Thank you. So I think you introduced myself already. I'm Bozhena Lalova. I don't count the years of experience, guys, here. Yeah, better. Yes, I've been at Mercedes, then Genesis, and now I'm at Avatar. And I have to say the most recent project that we launched yesterday, Spectra, our vision car, our baby. This was a very exciting project, which is also a combination of futuristic design, but also elegance. So it's really, truly speaking for our vision. And you have to guys take a look on that tomorrow, actually here, and you would understand what I'm talking about. You have to check the materials. It's really a great combination of amazing materials and also amazing design, interior and exterior. So it was a great project. I was also leading the project, with amazing team in Germany, but also in China. Also here today, some team members. So great experience. You just go there and check it.
So hi guys, I'm Nisha. With a background in industrial design, I started my career at Tata Motors. And I then had the opportunity to move to China, to Audi, and I was there around 5 years. And since 3 years, I'm here in Germany at Audi again. And it's a great roller coaster around the world so far. The most recent project actually that I would like to talk about is the Audi Konzepthaus. And I'm so glad, and I somehow feel privileged to be a part of this change that Audi is bringing. And please, again, an open invitation to everybody to come have a look at the stand. And we're very proud of how we've come so far, and hoping to go forward from here.
Thank you for all of those introductions and notable projects. And we've talked a lot about today about this whole integration of teams and looking at design from a holistic standpoint, especially when it comes from integrating CMF. And Laetitia, you had an interesting opportunity in GM and Cadillac, because you, for several years, I remember being invited to the studio, was before the pandemic, maybe I want to say 2018, 2019. And I remember the color and trim designers telling me from the very first sketch, they are sitting with the interior designers. And this blew my mind, right? I mean, this was a long time ago. This was not normal. It was very siloed. And this idea of fostering this open collaboration from the very beginning was something quite new. So can you talk a little bit about how this helped you as a CMF designer, and also how you saw the design department as a whole benefit because of it?
Yes, absolutely. So basically, this did not happen suddenly, right? We made this work. We pushed for the CMF to be really visible within the team, for them to understand the value. And the journey, actually, we started by trying to build trust with the marketing team. Because, in the earlier panel, we heard about the marketing team. And sometimes there is a big disconnect between their vision and the design vision. And here, the first approach from the CMF team was to work with them, show them how valuable we could be, what we can bring. And the very beginning was actually to organize a CMF design vision. We invited the marketing team to come and see what we are doing. And after that, they were actually reaching out to us to provide customer profile, brand identity, new ideas, new mood boards, and everything started this way. And so after that, it was much easier to have one voice between the marketing team and the design team to impact beyond CMF. So this is when the design team decided to create a specific role to be a bridge between the design and the marketing team. So you are very familiar with this, Laura. And this role is actually a brand experience design lead role. And we really worked with them from the beginning, So we had first this design vision through CMF. Then we worked with the interior and exterior studio. Then this new role came as the brand identity lead and the bridge with the marketing. And with all of this, we created the new portfolio that you may have seen those past couple of years. So this impacted our CMF team because we became essential to the conversation. It was not an afterthought. It was not the last stage. It was actually the beginning. And so it was very impactful, very, very important to be integrated, the design leadership as well. So the value of having the CMF team involved much earlier, directly through the design brief. We created actually different customer profiles and proposals, CMF proposals to find solutions to the needs. We tried to understand the different markets as well. So all of that was really crucial for the conversation. I hope I answered.
Yeah, no, that's very interesting because not, as we talk about, not all studios work that way. And Bozhena, you had an interesting experience from Mercedes-Benz, which is very traditional, very entrenched, big company, and then going to Genesis and then to Avatar, which were essentially new brands. So you had this opportunity to come into these brands and shape them from a CMF perspective. And what was that like, and how did that contrast to maybe working for this a bigger, more established company?
Well, first I have to say Mercedes-Benz was a great start in my career. I think you could learn quite a lot from that kind of company with a big heritage. And experience a true luxury and really imperfection, which is, I think, a great start if you're really starting your career. But at one point, it's also great, at least for me as a person, I want to create something new. I want like also new challenges, and building a brand or helping to build a brand also from the CMF side was actually something that really excited me, and also something that gave me the opportunity to do completely new way of expression for the CMF to the public, to the customer, but also for the brand. Going to Korea was definitely a big step, right? Because I was directly on site working with our amazing team there. So great team. The Korean team was really very passionate and really also eager to learn and to build up the brand to that level, really. And it was a great success, and I think the brand is still continuing to do so. And then going to Avatar, which is basically a brand, a Chinese brand, right? Based in Chongqing and with a studio in Shanghai, but also the Global Design Center here in Munich. This was a completely similar in terms of building the brand from zero, even more than Genesis, because of course Genesis maybe had at that time one vehicle, but the new portfolio starts, so you have to basically start from the beginning. But for Avatar, there was nothing. So there was not even a car. There was nothing. And also building a new studio, when I started, I think I was the only person there. So time by time, there was not even a shelf or anything else. So I think this was something that you have to be eager to do and to want to really build something from the very beginning. So it was so much different, but it gives you so much free room to also push for innovation and to push for something else that you maybe could not do in that traditional OEM.
Nisha, you have a little bit different path than many CMF designers, because it's not normal necessarily typically to have the industrial design background first. But I think that must give you a really unique, great perspective. So how has this industrial design background sort of shaped your experience in CMF and how you see this department?
Yeah, if you look today at the CMF teams, they're always a combination of people coming from different backgrounds, for example, fashion, textile, industrial design. And therefore, there's something unique that everyone brings to the table. And of course, my industrial design background has kind of helped me to be a bit more, let's say, meticulous in my work in terms of understanding how materials and processes work, and also to kind of really know the design process, because in industrial design, you learn from creating a brief to kind of getting to the final product itself, and you're designing the shape, you're designing the materials, the lifestyle around it, and the use cases, and it's kind of like a complete churn of design, let's say. And this for sure brings a very holistic perspective, I would say, to CMF. But a couple of years ago, I'm getting old and I don't remember, a decade ago, that there were basically no CMF courses, or very few colleges offering CMF courses. So now you see these pool of talented people who are completely coming from different backgrounds, and it's just so encouraging to be a part of this team. So I'm happy that I have the industrial design background, but I'm also happy that I can share the stage with other people coming from different design backgrounds as well.
And I think this has been a common theme all day that we've heard in all of the discussions, right? Is that we all have our specialties, but at the same time, having different backgrounds, learning from other people, having teams that are made up from diversity, right? Whether that's the gender or what country they're coming from, or what discipline or education they're coming from. This is what makes, the end of the day, the product better. I think if it's managed correctly. And I think that brings the question to design leadership, right? And so not every head of design truly understands CMF. Maybe it's not intentional. Maybe it's just their experience. Maybe it's just their background. But for each of you, is it really that important that you have a leader that really understands CMF? And or how can designers be more proactive, I think, in the CMF department in helping to, I would say, be a champion for yourself for CMF within the design organization? Laetitia, you have some ideas.
Yes, I think it's important to have a leader who understands it, because you can then get the support you need to push CMF ideas forward. However, if this is not the case, I think there is always solutions to get there. Again, by building trust and building a strong relationship with other departments, finding allies, basically, even in the design studios as well, not necessarily only outside. So there is always a way to do it. But to me, I think if we are unable to do it through a creative way, maybe we should take a business approach. There is a team level workup. There is a strategy, like a marketing strategy. There is all of that you can use to prove and to make them understand that this is crucial. Actually, this is a big impact on the customer, and if you don't have that, you may actually lose customers. And so always finding a way to shift the mind, or finding what will make them decide that this is important.
And that's important, right? I mean, like we talked about again in other panels, you start with the end goal, right? The common goal is you want to make the best product possible with the biggest sales possible, and this is how you do it. And Bozhena, do you have thoughts about making the CMF voice stronger in the organization?
Well, I depend, right? You said that. I think you need the support. Yeah, I think definitely if the head of the design is interested at the CMF, you can see that also. But you can definitely build a relationship. I also think like that, even if it's not that, let's say, of course, maybe the head of design is coming from a different area, right? Mostly exterior design driven. So exterior was always like a little bit on the first place, right? But I think things are changing, guys. I think for the future also CMF is going to, or is, in my opinion, at least now, it's starting to really be much more important. At least I can speak from my side at Avatar. I never have the feeling that CMF was less important than the exterior design, never, in any time. So that's why I'm saying, okay, the design head is very important, but on the other hand, I also think that the future is different. I think the future is CMF.
We had at the end of the last panel somebody say, I think...
it's like a mic drop.
Yeah. It was, we see CMF becoming a head of design. So I said, okay, interesting prediction. Maybe it will happen.
It's possible, no?
Yeah, I think so.
Possible. Everything's possible.
Adisha, I want you to talk about this too, but you also have a perspective of some cultural differences as well between like Tata and Audi. And so there's not only the differences between CMF and the rest of the designers, but also, the cultural differences in the companies. So how have you seen maybe some different experiences through that?
Yeah, I think after being in different countries and working there, I can definitely tell that there are, of course, differences in terms of work culture and the company culture and so on. But in terms of way of work, for me, the most important thing is that whatever I do in whichever country for whichever brand is resonating to the brand. And for me, also picking up on the discussion that we had before, that a good product is a good product and it sends a global message and it resonates with people everywhere around the world. So if someone's buying a German brand car, they value what the German automotive side has to offer: precision, technicality, and good quality, and so on. So this is something that you kind of adapt to depending on the brand that you're working for. And of course, the culture is very enriching in any place that you be. It's just about your perspective towards it.
Yeah, for sure, because there are, as you mentioned, yes, a good product is a good product, but it's still, there are cultural differences between the products. And especially this is the most evident in CMF, right? Whether it's the colors, it's the materials. So I just want to hear from each of you, how do these cultural differences shape CMF? I mean, it's not just in terms of the work itself, but in creating, I would say, like this open mind. I mean, obviously you can do research, what is trending and things like this, but I would say just, do you have maybe a specific experience or a certain project where you had to think differently for a different market, and how this shaped your conversations and your use of the colors and the materials?
Sure, I can start.
Yes.
I think when for Kailak, when the team decided to shift the brand and modernize the brand, they did this huge marketing study about customers and who they wanted to target and why. And I think the important first step was to, of course, build the new brand identity. What do you want to do? What is the purpose of the brand? What are the values? But you also need to understand what is the perception of your brand across multiple regions. Because in your own country you can think everything is fine, but in China they may think completely differently, in Europe as well. And so the perception of a brand has been one of the key as well, like one of those thought starters in order to shift. And yes, we need to make a product values the same globally because they are global brands, but starting with how the brand is perceived in this specific region may help you find design solutions as well. And obviously having a diverse team helps because everybody brings their own perspective. And
yeah, that's a good point. The diverse team is, I think, the best. Also for us, is the same. I mean, we are a global brand. Obviously, already starting selling the products also overseas. But of course, we have to also think about our Chinese customers. We're sitting here in Europe, but we're also in China. So we're also a global team with 25. I mean, overall design, different, let's say, coming from different countries. And our team, CMF team, is a big one and also coming from a lot of different countries. So I have to say we have to also think mostly now currently about the Chinese market, but coming up with the new markets, we have to also, of course, think what the people are want to have also in other countries, but nevertheless to keep the strategy, to keep the avatar philosophy and to go forward with that. We design actually cars for everyone around the world, but definitely important is to know the current market. What are the people there? What are their values? What they want to have, how they live, the way that they see things. I think people in China are completely different than people in Europe, and maybe sometimes similar to people in US in terms of color and trim. Yeah, it's also very exciting. We are always in exchange with our Chinese team, so very exciting. Also traveling there, it's really a very important topic. I think if you want to understand the market and a country, you have to travel as much as possible and to see how people live, what kind of word it is there, right? It's always a different word. And yeah, to experience that, and then you understand a little bit more, hopefully, what the people need.
Yeah, I partly answered this question, but again, coming back to what I said before, for me, it's really important to kind of resonate to the brand. Of course, to understand different markets is absolutely crucial because we have important customers across the world, and they also kind of look at a product with the resonance that product brings to them. And for example, in India, when I was working in Tata Motors, there was a lot of emphasis on value for money. And this, I think, even an Audi customer would want in their product if they're buying something. So that's why I said for me, it was more on the global side as a global product. If it's a good product, it resonates to the brand and resonates to the right people in each part of the world.
Yeah, absolutely. And Bozhena, you said something that, again, has been another theme that has popped up, especially in our talking about UX, UI and digitalization and tools. And I think there is a consensus that you don't really truly experience something until you do it in person, whether you're traveling and seeing the culture, experiencing where the people are living, where they're working, whether it's, having this conversation in person on the stage instead of through a Teams meeting. And this is, at the end of the day, the essence of CMF, right? As long as we're designing cars for humans, this idea of this tactile, analog element will never really go away. So I think even in terms of, yes, we're getting more digital, iteration is happening quickly. The technology allows people to work faster, but at the end of the day, almost similar to how there are some studios that will not give up clay modeling. I know GM is very passionate about this, right? It's like, we can do this all digital as much as we want, but at the end of the day, we need to validate in clay. I think this is similar and maybe even more so with CMF. So
I think for me, touching and feeling, it's the sense of what we do. It's the end result. You're going to sit in an environment, you're going to touch and feel, you are going to have emotions. So I almost feel like CMF could be renamed touch and feel, or look and feel, or I don't know, something like that. But the clay at GM, yes, definitely. But because of that, because you need to experience in person, you need to have the proportions in front of you. You need to be able to scale this and the proximity to the materials, to the space you are in is it's essential for design for GM to design properly.
At Konzepthaus, we know how challenging design projects can get, especially when deadlines are tight and teams are stretched. That's where our design project management service comes in. Our experts manage workflows, timelines, and budgets, and provide the right resource to help you reach your goals. In short, we keep your projects on track so designers can focus on what really matters: creativity, vision, and innovation. Discover how our DPM services can support your team at konzepthaus-consulting.com.
And it's interesting what you would say, because I know Amy mentioned in our earlier discussion about JLR calling it materiality, right? And so I think sometimes even labels can shift our mindset, on how we think of things. And so maybe this is an opportunity within design organizations too, to like, how can we call something differently or talk about something differently in a way that can open people's minds? And so along with that, I want to hear maybe a little bit more about some of the challenges you think we're facing. We've covered it a little bit already, but in terms of like having CMF really up there as like, as good as exterior, not good, but, as valued and respected, and, having it in the top, because some studios do it, but some don't. So what needs to change?
I think the change that we are talking about, it's kind of already in effect. And we see more and more design studios kind of opening up, let's say, the potential from the CMF team. And I would like to pick on what I said before, that the CMF team is very multidisciplinary in a way, because people from textile, fashion, industrial design, even automotive design kind of all come together. And you can only imagine the full potential of really bringing all this talent into effect. And you see a lot of brands already giving center stage or center of the universe to CMF, and letting them explore beyond the conventional side of CMF. And I think that's where the growth of the CMF team is, to kind of not think about it in the traditional sense, and to kind of merge boundaries or blur the lines and go beyond what you can normally do. For example, also being a part of or CMF being involved in, let's say, the aesthetics of how a car is presented to the world, the backdrop, the floor, the lighting, how the color is perceived, as well creating aspirational personas of the future customer that the brand could build on. Of course, we don't want to lose our old customers, but we want to gain some new ones as well. And so I really see kind of like an unlimited possibility for the CMF team to kind of explore and diverge into different phases of design and kind of blurring the lines between what traditionally CMF is and what the full potential of it could be.
And that goes a little bit into our other panel discussion about the intersection of CMF and UX UI, right? Because when we're talking about autonomous vehicles specifically, then what does the user experience look like when you're no longer driving, and how do the screens change, and how do the materials change? And so, it's very closely related.
Yeah, I would say at General Motors, at least, CMF, seating, brand identity, the visualization team, photography team, accessories, all of those, they stand under the industrial design team. So they have one executive, which is not branded. It's across every brand. And I think this is, it's really the core, it's blending everything as one team. And then there is the Cadillac studio with Inter Exterior, and then there is the GMC studio, Buick and Chevrolet. But having this, it's also helping regarding complexity, regarding brand differentiation, making sure we don't overlap. We have a clear understanding of each brands and DNA. This is important as well to have more interaction, and it's actually facilitating those interactions with the UX UI team and everything else. Again, the digital team, the visualization team, photography. It's really good to facilitate the collaboration.
Well, I think it's important that the CMF is actually directly, that was the question, right? That it's actually directly under the head of design, because I don't see any point of why that should be different, why CMF should go through, for example, very often in the traditional companies, I can just speak about the German ones maybe, the CMF is under interior design. So, of course, interior design is, let's say, more involved in the shape design. Of course, interior is very connected to color and trim, definitely. What we do at Avatar, we're collaborating very close together. So we're sitting also very close together, and we're exchanging without anybody saying to anybody, you have to go there and do that. So I think it should happen naturally, the collaboration, but I think the report should go directly to the head of design. So I don't see why the exterior, interior, color and trim should be positioned in a different way. So everything can happen much more efficiently. And I think, however, also with my past experience, maybe the interior design boss would have a different opinion than the head of design. So you have to see how to handle that situation, right? At the end, just one have the final call. So you have to be also somehow juggling with the balls in the air and try, of course, that the project moves forward also. Sometimes it could also get slow because of that. So that's why it's much more efficient. And I don't see any reason to be different. Yeah.
And you bring up a good point, which, again, another common theme that reminds us, that skills are not just about designing, they're about people skills, right? And sometimes that's managing egos in and different reporting structures and things like this. And so I think that's always something to remember as well, when you're thinking about your skill set and your communication skills, and how do you, at the end of the day, what do you need to do to move the project forward in the way that would be best for the product. And it's really interesting. And so going to this sort of idea of the future, I know we talk a little bit about autonomy, a little bit about AI, but I want to just sort of go into the future of like, okay, we know that AI is proliferating more. We know you mentioned obviously CMF is becoming very much more important. We know this. In fact, so many studios, every time as a journalist, I'm interviewing someone, they say, well, we started with the inside first, and it's now it's a cliche, but a few years ago, this was unheard of. Normally you have an exterior sketch and then you build everything around this. But yes, we know that the role of CMF will continue to be more important. But I am just interested in hearing your perspectives or your opinions of like, once AI enters the picture, once the digital tools get better, autonomy maybe is coming. How is this changing the field of CMF?
You go for it, please.
That's a very interesting question because I've had now 12 years to work in this field of CMF, and there was always a new software, there was always a new tool, and you always kind of adapted to it through your journey. There was a time when Photoshop was new and nobody knew how to use it, and today it's the tool that I use the most, for example, and PowerPoint had its era and AI has its era now. So it's kind of like a constant, let's say, update on what technology can do in terms of supporting us. But you could use it really in the right way to your advantage. For example, I use AI a lot to also create patterns quickly, to tessellate patterns. This is like a very quick tool to kind of place a certain graphic and kind of tessellate it. So it's really helpful as a tool. And of course, more and more advanced possibilities of like it can help you with, I don't know, storytelling. It can help you with a lot of different aspects that also CMF is growing into. So it's something that you would, of course, adapt to. But like we said before, there's this tactile feeling to CMF where you need to touch, feel. There's an emotional aspect to CMF. And maybe AI replaces it at some point. But at the moment, I think the human-centered approach or aspect of it is kind of, unique in itself and has its own value that it brings to the table.
Well, I think also in the moment the AI is very focused on the exterior first. Yeah, so it cannot contribute so much into the color and trim, at least not like we would like to do so. In certain cases, but nevertheless, I think things are going to change very fast, and we can maybe not even imagine how fast they're going to change. And I still believe at the end you need the haptical feeling, you need to experience that. But I think at one point it's going to be who can operate the AI so well that can get the best output. And the question is, these people are maybe going to be the successful one. Yeah, maybe they are not 30. They are maybe, 15. Depends. Because you will still need to do, of course, things in real, right? It's nothing just going to stay on a picture, or it has to be alive. But maybe one day we cannot even imagine. You can do it first, maybe on the picture, maybe it's going directly to the supplier, and then the supplier is just producing, but you don't know. So it's like, really, I'm thinking how far it can go, and it can go very far. Yeah, let's see.
I mean, there's the feasibility issue, but you bring up a good point that I always also bring up when we talk about AI, and that's the fact that AI output is only as good as the person who's writing the prompt, right? And so this again comes back to communication skills. Yeah. How do you tell the machine what you want and get what you want out of it? So maybe the person who's doing the sketch, their job will evolve into how do you tell the machine to make this sketch? But yeah. Anyway.
I think, this is something the best designers are already doing, not necessarily consciously, but when they have to present their sketch, when they explain, if they are using the right keywords, the right explication. Again, it's a communication skill to me. And I think the AI is simply going to be a wonderful tool for us to emphasize that, but we still have to be amazing storytellers in order to do beautiful products.
Yeah, absolutely. I remember as a design journalist, I once asked somebody what makes a good designer, and she said, it's only half the job is being able to draw a good sketch. The other half is being able to sell your idea. And, and anybody who's ever been in a design review or a presentation knows this. But for me, this was a light bulb moment because, yeah, absolutely. We're talking again about the things that you learn in school are not covering everything that you need to do. And then I'm going to ask all of you as well, back to education, because Nisha, you mentioned too, CMF designers are coming from different backgrounds. You have an industrial design background. Maybe there weren't CMF specific programs. Maybe that's good or bad, but all of you are seeing, young designers or interns coming in. If there's one thing that you could say about the educational system for CMF, what could be better and what would you change?
Yeah, I have to go back memory lane. When I was in my university, I actually was always interested in art and design. And the closest thing I found where I could pursue a career was industrial design. So I took it up. And one evening, walking in the lobby of my university, I saw this very exciting class ongoing in transportation design. And there was this guest lecturer, it was even after hours, after university hours. And he was teaching how to sketch to the transportation team. And that class was so interesting, and I was so mesmerized by it at that point. I was in awe, and I just couldn't let the automotive side of interest kind of go away. And even though I pursued industrial design, I still remember I did projects like bicycle design and, tricycle. It was always something related to automotive. And actually, I think I didn't probably have the right platform to kind of understand CMF at that point, because I didn't know the possibility of getting a job in CMF and actually being able to do what I love and find a combination between, let's say, industrial design and automotive design. And I think this awareness is kind of slowly starting within universities now. But I think also to kind of have this perspective to understand the true potential of CMF, because I guess even if there are some courses related to CMF in universities, they're more on the traditional side of CMF. And I think when the new generation is kind of coming and getting jobs, it's nice if they have already this kind of adaptive sense to what the true potential of the CMF team is. And I would really imagine universities bringing up more courses that are not in the traditional sense, but kind of bringing more awareness to the touch and feel and look and aesthetic aspect of it. Yeah.
For me, when I was hiring designers, I was really looking for the ability to observe and the ability to understand, more than the skills of I know to sketch or I know how to develop this material, for example, because I think those skills you can learn at work. However, the skills like being collaborative, being open, being curious, this is something which is more rare, let's say. Some people do have it, and some have more difficulties. So to me, as students, as advice for students, I hope they can work on that, on the collaborative aspect, especially in the automotive industry, but not only. It's everywhere. You don't only have to collaborate within your team, you also have to work collaboratively with suppliers. You have to keep those relationships. You have to, maintain this, challenge them with respect. And those to me are the most important skills. Of course, the portfolio has to be impactful, but if they are able to understand a problem, come up with solutions, even if they are not perfect, I think this is a plus.
So I think in Germany there are some universities already doing that with the CMF. Slowly, Reutlingen, I think, started there. But I actually value people that they're coming from a different fields. I think it's very important to. I have even people in my team that were going more on the, let's say, shape side. So not really so much like textile design, or of course there as well textile designers as well. But from the different fields, the perspective it gets much more broader. The people have a different also abilities that they bring with. But of course, I think this is, you can learn a lot during the job, you're right. The most important, I think, is also to be passionate, to want to really, to see it as some kind of, it's like your baby, whatever you do. Like with design without passion, it's like nothing. We do it because we're passionate, right? And I think to be resilient, and I think you need to push a lot, quite a lot. Yeah, and communication, of course, is one of the biggest parts. So, yeah. Be passionate, be strong, and never forget your dreams, guys.
And this was actually a segue into my last question was, we were talking about the educational system, but you kind of answered my next question, which is, for everybody sitting here, and we've ended the other panels this way as well. It's like, what is one piece of advice or one element that you can offer the audience members here when they can leave today and then help forward the cause of CMF in their own studios? So we have Be Passionate from Bozhena. Any other parting advice before we go to questions?
I think Be Passionate is definitely key. But I would, what else can I add? Just be bold as well. Just don't hesitate. I think not being afraid of failing is important too, because if you don't try, you will never know if it's working or not. And we can always recover. There is a leadership team. There are support around you. There are other designers who can help. And I think this is important to understand that you will never be alone, and not everything fall on your shoulders. So that's why the collaborative aspect is super important, not only in order to push for a product, but also to obtain the support you need for yourself, for your own growth. So yeah, that would be that for me.
I think for me, everyone already covered a lot, but to add something additionally is to kind of break the convention and don't kind of restrict yourself in any way, and just be curious about exploring, even if you're studying CMF or automotive design or industrial design, just try to explore other aspects of design while you are in your university, because it brings a much more enriching experience in the future, and you have a lot of applications that you can diverse into as well. And for me, blurring the lines is important.
Yeah, and I think, and again, common theme, this comes back to every designer working in every studio. And just because, and I said this in the last session, just because your management structure doesn't encourage this or mandate it doesn't mean that you cannot get up and walk across the room and go ask somebody in another department, hey, what do you think? Or pick up the phone or make a Teams call, or, whatever it is. And I think, again, this theme that we've all shared today is this idea of this empowerment, right? Of no matter what level you're on in the design community, you can affect change. And I think we need people like this, right? Because otherwise things stay the same, especially when you're in this culture where maybe you're coming from a background where people are taught not to ask so many questions, or, it's very hierarchical. So yeah, fantastic. Well, thank you. We have time for some questions, if anyone.
Thanks for watching this session from the Mobility Design Conference 2025 as part of the Munich Motor Show 2025. I hope you found some inspiration and new ideas about where mobility design is heading in the future. If you like to see more talks from the conference, make sure to subscribe to the channel and stay tuned. There is more to come.